Good morning. It is Monday, April 8th. We are 90 days out from July 7th. The DTD2, do the database 2, the two numbers, two letters that you're going to call this week, and the number that you're also going to text this week. Do the database 2, calling your B's and your E's, and you're texting your U's. How many U's do you have in your phone that is a last name? And again, if you don't have any last names, maybe you have people with the first name. Maybe you have a dear friend Ursula that you could text. I don't know. B's and E's are the calls. U's are the texts. It's that simple. And we are today talking to proven cappers at 11 o'clock. That's the mastermind today. If you're a proven capper, it means you've capped. Once a capper, always a capper. We're having that conversation at 11 o'clock. 1 o'clock, Ask the Brokers. Your chance every Monday at 1 o'clock on Keller TV. To have a conversation with the brokers, ask them questions. It's open source. It's like professor's hours. Remember when your professor in college would tell you Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 4, you could swing by their office and ask them anything or have a conversation? That's what this is, ultimately. Then, of course, on Friday, it's KWCLM Forms. That's at 1 o'clock. And then we do contracts every Wednesday from 9, 10, and 11 o'clock. It's all happening. It's all happening. Access to your brokers like nowhere else. So that's at 1 o'clock, and then Make Money Mondays at 2 o'clock. Here's your opportunity every week at 2 o'clock. Sit down with the region. It's a regional call. The link is in the morning news. And in there, they're going to give you content to use on your social media, lead generation ideas. You're going to have interviews from other agents in the region who are doing things that are working for them, and maybe you could take it and apply it where you work. Because that's the number one answer on the board when somebody hears somebody talking about, well, I'm doing this and it's working this way and all this stuff. And you like the whispers start like, oh, that would never work up here. Because, Jerry's in Rhode Island. There's no way that would possibly work in southern New Hampshire. It would work. And we'll find out that it works when we actually do it, right? You can't avoid doing the task because you're convincing yourself based on zero data that it's not going to work. So give it a shot. Make Money Mondays every Monday at 2 o'clock. And that's that this Wednesday from 1 to, I'm going to get this wrong. I feel like it's a 4-hour class. 1 to 5 this Wednesday. If you look in the KWCLM hub, you will see it. Gary's doing his Value Squared, the national class. And then JV is going to be in Meredith this Thursday from 10 to 12 for local Value Squared. And that's going on this Wednesday nationally, and then, of course, this Thursday. So Wednesday's a big, long day. If you want to camp out, you could, without fail, be learning all day with contracts all morning, grab a sandwich, and then in the afternoon, Gary's doing Value Squared. So, and I know people are thinking, well, I've already done Gary's class. I appreciate that. If you've done Gary's class already, I wouldn't necessarily rush back to this one because you've done Gary's class. Though when you see Gary's class continuing to take place and morphing and maybe getting relabeled, and I'm not saying they're going to relabel it, but maybe getting relabeled, you should, if Gary continues to do these, and as we continue to do these, which I can tell you we will, I wouldn't ignore the opportunity to keep leaning into these occasionally enough that you've got your finger on the proverbial pulse of what's going on with all of this. Because don't forget, the findings came out. There's a ruling. It still needs to get ratified. It still needs to get done. They're saying July 15th, we're going to have more information. I don't know that July 15th, everything's going to be signed, sealed, and delivered. And that's why we need to stay in this conversation, if nothing else, to help us be phenomenal around the buyer's agency conversation and making sure we can discuss our value. That's what this is really about. Because the consumer just wants to be taken care of. The consumer wants to be able to trust you. If you asked your sellers or your buyers at the top of the conversation, Mr. Lindsay, what are you looking for in a realtor? They're probably going to say, well, I'd love a really good negotiator. I like somebody who's trustworthy. I want somebody who's going to be honest with me. I want somebody who's going to be punctual, which is interesting, right? We have created that for ourselves. Real estate agents, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I'm very busy. Everyone's busy. Don't be late, right? That's usually one of the first things they're going to notice, which creates a caricature of our entire industry, is when real estate agents are late. So all those classes, super important. Look for those later this week. Gary's on Wednesday afternoon. JV will be delivering locally in Meredith this Thursday. So it's funny when I get this thing started, when I fire up, and because I'm sending this now, this goes to Facebook. We're on Facebook. Good morning, everybody. When we go to Facebook, and then I also push this over, this is also on our YouTube page. And YouTube forces you to title it. So I threw that in there. And I labeled this morning's quick start. It's a total eclipse of the start, right? Because the eclipse is today. It's happening this afternoon. Reminder, don't look at it without the proper eyewear. Don't use your phone because it'll ruin the aperture in your phone. So I'm told. I'm not an expert. I can tell you I have meetings, so I'll be in here and it'll just get dim in here, which, well, intellectually. And so I said it's like a total eclipse of the start, because sometimes we talk about, well, last week was rough, or my first quarter was rough. So I'm going to get started on Monday. It could be nutrition. It could be fitness. It could be you're going to stop smoking or vaping or drinking, or you're going to, never mind stopping stuff. Maybe you're going to start doing stuff. I'm going to start to lead gen. I'm going to start to script and role play with somebody. I'm going to start to open up command and get that sorted out. I'm going to start sending out my physical mailers, create my email mailers. And then we get here and it's Monday and we don't. And we handcuff ourselves. Because you're thinking to yourself, well, what's one more day? I'll start tomorrow. There's a great scene. I'm pretty sure it's Rocky 3. Yes, he's quoting Rocky. Good morning, everybody. Sylvester Stallone in Rocky 3. And he's sparring with Apollo Creed. And the actor's name, Carl Weathers, just passed away recently. Carl Weathers, who just passed away, plays Apollo Creed. In Rocky 3, he's prepping him to fight Mr. T. The things you remember. And they're sparring out in Los Angeles. And Rocky's just tired. And he stops fighting, and he's telling Apollo, I'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow. And Apollo Creed screams at him, there is no tomorrow. Now, that's a little over the top, maybe, for our conversation. But think about what he meant by that. Because so many times we're like, well, I'll get started tomorrow. And again, whatever that is, health, nutrition, reading, starting to read. And I don't mean reading, but I mean like, I'm going to start that book next week. We're in a coaching program right now, and they are firing off 2 books a week at us. And our MAPS coaches have instructed us to listen to, and I've got the dorkiest thing for this, so I'm going to go down this wormhole with you. Our coaches have instructed us if you should be grabbing this on Amazon, I apologize, on Audible, because it's just going to be faster if you listen to it. And I appreciate that. And I know I've shared this with you a myriad of times. One of my great MAPS coaches, the Tammy Richard, told me years ago, if you are listening, and everyone's different, maybe you're really good at powering through books. And she wasn't even talking about listening to a book on Audible at like, I don't even know how fast it goes. It goes up there, though. I've realized my tipping point, 1.5 is good. 1.7 is probably my tip. Once you get to 2.0, I think it's just moving too fast. For me. And I'm going to give you my Audible hack in a second, which sort of defeats the purpose, but stay with me on this. So our MAPS coaches are like, just you don't realize your brain can listen faster than you can hear, which I get that. I also think for me, 1.7 on Audible is about as fast as I can go. So the blessing is what they're doing, so we're not killing ourselves, is they're giving us 2 books every week, and one is one that we probably should have already read, and one might be something new. And last week, I had already read both books, so I blazed through. And what I've been doing, and this was one of the books last week, Phil M. Jones, Exactly What to Say. What I do, here's my dork out with these, is I will put on Audible, and I will go through the book at the same time. So that way it's hitting my brain twice. Everyone's different. And I know for a lot of people, well, that defeats the purpose to me. I'm listening to the book on Audible while I'm driving around. I get that. I get that. And I'm not saying it's been easy. And one of the things I learned about myself last week is when I get home, when I would normally decompress, and I'm normally watching the Red Sox are 7-3. I was going to say watch the Red Sox lose, but they're 7-3. When I would normally be watching the Red Sox or whatever, that might be on, but I've got the sound all the way down. I've got my AirPods in, so I'm not bothering the wife. And I've been listening and I've been reading or having it read to me, if that makes sense. You feel like you're in the 6th grade. You're in like the reading club and you're sitting in the library and the teacher's reading. You've got your copy in front of you. It's story time. That has worked best for me. So I'm just throwing that out there as like a life hack because I also like to make sure that I have this. I can't grab Audible and reference it for you. My job as your coach is to make sure that I'm bringing new ways of learning to you all the time. And it would be impossible for me to be like, oh, by the way, so like this week we're reading Blount, Selling in a Crisis. That book, the physical book, arrives today at the office. I can't physically reference that book on Audible for you, but I can do it if I'm holding it. I can do it when there's a copy on my desk. If you've been in my office, there's a million books on the top of my desk. This is not a KW book, but Meditations from Marcus Aurelius is phenomenal, by the way. Phenomenal. Ryan Holiday, one of the great modern day Stoics. Yes. Marcus Aurelius, one of the original Stoics. Anywho, that's my recommendation for you. If you have time, I found I can watch passive sports in the background or just have it on in the background so I know whether the Celtics or the Bruins or the Red Sox or the Patriots, God help us, are winning or losing. I can have that on, turned down. I'm not even watching it. It's a reference point. But normally, like, I'm going to go home. I'm just going to watch sports and chill out. And when I'm taking that time, because there's no more time, there's 23 hours and 59 minutes. How am I possibly going to get this all done? I'm allowed to relax and learn at the same time. And it sounds ridiculous for me to have that realization now with all this gray hair, but I think everybody feels like, oh, I got to go home and I got to decompress. And I found that I can do that while I'm learning too. So that's how I'm cramming it all in. And I hate to use the word cram. I'm sorry I did, because it hasn't been. I don't feel like I'm cramming it in. But you have to find these efficiencies. And we as realtors that feel today was the day we talked about on Friday or Thursday. You know what? I'm going to start that on Monday. I saw Phil M. Jones in Vegas. I had never read his book. I'm going to go grab his book, and now I'm going to read it. This, thankfully, was already in my bloodstream before we saw him in Vegas. Seeing him in Vegas reinvigorated me about what he wrote. The simple things that he does to set up conversations. And it's not the silver tongue. It's just asking questions differently. So I guess the question to ask yourself today is, why would you wait? In the spirit of what I'm calling this quick start, right? The total eclipse of the start. Why would you not let it start today? What's keeping you from doing that? And for so many people, it's, well, if I start today, it's not like I'm going to see results on Friday. No, you won't. Depending on what you're looking for, you might not see the results that you're building this morning or this afternoon. You're not going to see them on Friday. That's not the reason that you don't get started today, though. And we say this all the time. You don't have to be great to start. You have to start to be great. And that's about just doing the next right thing. That's about making sure that if it didn't work this morning because you didn't give it a shot this morning, tomorrow when you're like, oh God, it's not the end of the week yet. And as soon as you finish that thought, you throw in some Mel Robbins and do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and your feet hit the floor and you're up. and you're cranking your bottle of water and you're doing your deep knee bends, your yoga, you're going out for your run, you're going out for your ride, you're sitting quietly, maybe you're doing contemplative prayer, maybe you're doing transcendental meditation. There's so many different things that people do in the morning to set themselves up for greatness. Oh, I was going to do that this week, but I'll start next week. And why do we always put it off till next week? We're through the first quarter of the year, and some people are just like, oh, you know what? Year's 26% over. I'll do that next year. Start now. When we get off course, the best thing we can do is get right back on course. Every day, every hour, every minute is a fulcrum point for us to make a change in the way we're thinking. PTFAR, point far. Our programming leads to our thoughts lead to our feelings lead to our actions deliver our results. So your programming that you'll start next Monday, change that with the thought that I will start today. Well, I'm already off track, Tim. My point was to be up at 4:59, to be out for a walk. Okay, we're a few hours behind. Start right now. What is it that you wanted to change this week? Was it fitness? Was it nutrition? Was it making sure you're getting the right rest? Was it making sure that you're pouring back into you? And today's a monumental event. I'm not picking on anybody. If you set aside today to be with your family, to go do Eclipse things, go do Eclipse things. But what do we know? We know that if you erase it, you must replace it. Whatever was supposed to take place today. Well, nothing, Tim. I had the whole day circled off for the Eclipse. I get that. But there's a piece of your monthly goal, which is a piece of your weekly goal, which is your Monday morning activities that might be getting put aside to be with your family, to go do Eclipse things. And I get that, and I celebrate that. That comes first. There's nothing happening in the KW ecosystem attached to your business that's more important than your family, more important than an experience with your family. But ask yourself, what gives you the opportunity to step away from your business and to go do these experiential things with your loved ones? Is the work you put in leading up to this day. If you haven't got the eyewear, I don't. If your calendar doesn't have an opportunity to climb on the roof and go look at the eclipse, or if you simply don't care, not everyone is going to be tied up with this today. So do what serves you. This afternoon, what serves me is to be in conversation with the agents who have booked my face. Because that will empower me to know that, albeit not perfect, what I'm doing is the next right thing to the best of my ability. So don't avoid getting started because everything's not perfectly lined up, pun intended, moon, sun, eclipse. It's very rare that you're going to be like, oh, everything is perfect. Now I can get started. The first day of my freshman year, Nathan Dickey said to me, we are making omelets. You're going to break some eggs. And you've met Nate. He's a high D. I'm a high I. The two of us are not really worried about making a mess. But in the effort of being care-filled, my concern was, I want to get things right. All the while understanding as I continued through my journey in real estate, I would figure out what was right by screwing up some things that no one's ever going to notice. For those of you that are married, and whatever your celebration looked like, as you can imagine, ask Janina. She'll love that I told you this story. As you can imagine, between Janina and myself, I was probably a little bit more of a bridezilla, and I wasn't a bridezilla. More concerned about the nuts and bolts of how the day was going to go, as it were. So as we left, beautiful church, by the way, St. Francis and Drake, and we went over to our reception, I was at ease because of what our wedding planner said to us weeks prior. All these little details, Timmy, no one's going to notice. Like I wanted our little thing that went on top of the cake. I wanted the bow tie and the vest to match my bow tie and my vest, which normally isn't like a huge issue, but I was wearing Lindsay Tartan, so I expected some artiste to grab this little plasticine thing and make sure that all the colors from the Lindsay Tartan, like, she's like, we're going to make sure it's as close as possible because that's something you want, and it's important. Doesn't make it less important, but it's not going to affect the overall experience of the people that this is for. Because the celebration of the day is for your family to celebrate what you and Janina are doing. It's not about if your tiny little plastic dude on top of the cake has Lindsay Tartan on his vest. In a litigious world, in the contractual arena that we play in, details matter. And sometimes we allow that to be our easiest excuse to not move forward. One of the books that is normally on my desk that I have actually returned, or maybe it's over here again. Stand by. Because if it is, I want to grab it real quick. I think it is. No, that's my one thing. It's not over here. It is Charlie Mackesy. If you have kids, go get this book yesterday for them. Go get them the physical book. Charlie Mackesy. It is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. It's a bunch of short stories in this book. Like really short stories, like picture and just a conversation between two of the characters. And the one that I love the most is the boy is sitting next to the horse on the edge of the woods. And the boy says to the horse, I don't know what to do next. And they're clearly looking into the woods like, where do I go? The boy says to the horse, I don't know what to do next. The horse says to the boy, can you see your next step? And the boy says, yes. And the horse says, just take that. It's that simple. Free yourself from analysis paralysis. Free yourself from the weight of not taking action today. You were going to start something today, and I don't know if that was fitness or nutrition or faith or rest or growth and education, or when you get to the office, if it's script and role play, lead gen, lead follow-up. Never forget, the magic that we're looking for is in the work that we're avoiding. So take the time to free yourself from being held back by the I'll do it laters. They serve nobody, least of which you and your loved ones. If I can help with this, let me know. It is 603-872-5800. 834-2856. You can also book my face at meetwithcoach.com. I'm going to see you in and around the Market Center. I will see you on the internet. And if I see you looking up in the sky later today without your glasses, I'm going to kick you in the face. I'm just kidding. I won't, because I won't be there. Have a great day.